A comfortable day at a farm may be sweltering in a city. Why the drastic difference in temperature? Towering skyscrapers and concrete streets create their own climates, often referred to as urban heat islands. In fact, urban warming impacts nearly 80% of the United States population, affecting over 250 million people. These densely populated areas are often filled with darker surfaces, such as asphalt and concrete. These surfaces absorb a lot of sunlight, which helps warm the air closer to the ground. Cities often lack an abundance of trees and parks, which diminishes natural cooling and causes a noticeable increase in warmth. As a result, there is an increased demand for air conditioning in these areas. This will cool people off indoors, but in reality, it does the complete opposite outdoors, especially in more populated areas.
It's 100 degrees, you're like, well, I'm going to go inside and try to find some air conditioning. But then when you're inside, maybe it's a little cooler. But what an air conditioner is actually doing is it's taking heat from inside of a building and depositing it outside of a building. So the more air conditioning you have, the more you kind of turbocharge that heat effect.
As average temperatures continue to rise across the country, heat in urban areas has become more pronounced. These effects worsen as cities continue to expand. A study from Climate Central indicated that temperatures in major cities can reach more than 10 degrees Fahrenheit higher than rural areas that are located over 10 miles away.
So if you were, for example, to take a weather station and stick it in the middle of, let's say, New York City, and then you were to take that same weather station and move it 30 or 40 miles outside of New York City, kind of the synoptic meteorology is actually fairly similar, but the station that's in the city might read, upwards of 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer just because of that additional kind of heat absorption and surface modification based on being in the city.
The largest temperature differences between urban and rural areas can also occur during the winter when it's not hot outside. Urban heat island effects are most pronounced in snowy areas.
In the winter, maybe you get a big snowstorm. Snow is very reflective. I'm not plowing over like the snow off a farm field. So that farm field might be very, very white, reflect a lot of that radiation. But in a city like State College, we're always plowing the streets. We're kind of uncovering that black asphalt. So we're allowing a lot more radiation to be absorbed. So the temperature difference is actually strongest in seasons like the winter.
While urban heat islands can have a huge impact on temperatures, air quality is also an issue in urban areas. Air quality is worse in cities than in surrounding rural and suburban areas. This is because the warm ground allows for the formation of ozone, which is a harmful pollutant on the surface. This pollution can cause respiratory issues, heart problems, or even lung cancer. According to the American Lung Association, more than 40% of the United States population is exposed to unhealthy levels of air pollution, leading to serious health consequences.
In general, any sort of health impacts end up stressing our economic systems. For example, if you have people that are more frequently getting sick in major cities, that means maybe they're going to utilize ambulances, medical resources.
Air quality brings devastating health effects, but extreme heat is the deadliest weather-related hazard in the United States. This kills about 1,500 to 2,000 people per year, many who live in populated areas.
A heat wave over a large region of the United States, that, it's already really hot. If you increase the temperature of those cities by even 5 degrees, that could really expose a lot of people, especially maybe people who are elderly, people who have pre-existing conditions, things like that, to heat that really is going to stress their personal health.
In addition to significant health effects, heat can also affect air travel.
We've already actually seen this in areas in the southwestern United States. Certain airplanes cannot actually take off and land when the local temperature is above a certain value. But there have been more instances over the last, let's say, 5 years in Phoenix, Arizona, where certain fleets have had to be grounded because the temperatures have been so high.
Warm air is less dense, which reduces lift on the plane's wings, making takeoff difficult. In fact, a plane must travel faster on the ground or use longer runways to complete a successful takeoff. Once the plane is airborne, the challenges don't end. There is more uneven heating in the atmosphere on these hot days, which leads to more air turbulence. Despite the impacts of urban heat islands on public health and air travel, there is hope. Cities are finding ways to mitigate these effects.
So green spaces kind of help mitigate a little bit of that, having really dark asphalts or roofs. It also gives people areas of shade that they can be under. There's also this idea of maybe can we tweak the materials that we use to build our cities. So there's actually some evidence that if you build with lighter colored roofs or if you use concrete instead of asphalt, you also mitigate the urban heat island effect.
Using lighter colored materials and incorporating green spaces are two great strategies to reduce urban heat islands. This helps cool the area by reducing the amount of sunlight absorbed by these lighter materials. Adopting these strategies will not only lessen urban heat islands, but it will improve public health and air quality. If these methods aren't implemented, cities will continue to warm faster compared to rural areas. For Weather World, I am student meteorologist